It's been said that charity begins at home. And in our hometown of Austin, there's a very special expression of this charity in the form of Charitech, an event that's going to be coming up soon and that we're going to be learning about today on Austin Faith Dialogue. Please join us.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life. A series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
Hello, I'm Richard Thompson of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, welcoming you to this edition of the show. And today we're pleased to be able to highlight and to feature an event that's coming up at the Austin Convention Center this coming Tuesday, and that is Charitech. Since 1994, this corporately sponsored event has showcased the wide variety of nonprofit services across the capital area region. And today we're pleased to have with us the co-chair of Charitech, Stephen C. Taylor of Applied Materials. And also leading in the event is Joyce Horn of the Volunteer Center United Way Capital Area. And we welcome you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to say that I have heard about Charitech over the last several years, but it seems to be growing each year. And tell us what it is, Steve, and how it started.
Well, it started in Austin in, like you said, 5 years ago. It basically is a gathering of nonprofits of all kinds with givers of all kinds, everything from big corporate sponsors to small business operators to individuals who want to contribute either money, items, or time to their community. They want to do something, they want to contribute to their community. And we get together for one day at the convention center and we talk about innovative, mutually rewarding ways we can work together to make Austin a better place.
Okay, well now you've given me this description of it, and I mean Applied Materials, Dell, IBM, Motorola, the various television stations. I mean, you've got a list of these sponsors, and then how many do you have in terms of folks who come in to showcase their work?
We have a total of 62 sponsors for this event, which is amazing. I'm not sure there's any operation like this in Austin. We have one part of the show is to have this trade show-like setting with 200 nonprofits, which are available to answer questions and talk about what they do. So it's a one-stop shopping opportunity for you to find out about the various ways that you can work with a charity and other nonprofit in the community.
Okay, so you've got 60 some odd sponsors and over 200 of the nonprofits that are there.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of a partnership for the day.
Yes, it is. And the intent, again, is to kind of start talking and thinking three-dimensionally, beyond just asking for money and saying yes or no. What are some ways where you can really help each other figure out some kind of an idea or analyze a proposal or somehow think of a way which benefits both partners? And it's a partnership that goes forward, not just a one-shot sponsorship.
Okay. We'll explore that partnership as we go forward in this show. But I want to just ask you this, Joyce. You're with the volunteer work of the United Way. And what's your relationship to the Charitech event?
We are a sponsor along with some of the others, only ours is more of an in-kind donation in terms that as the Volunteer Center, we recruit, train, and coordinate all of the volunteers for that day. We also have other departments within United Way that provide assistance as well, such as our marketing department, who is at the registration booth that day and provides assistance to all of the VIPs and all of the media that check in for that day, so that we can make sure that they get all of the accurate information so that they can broadcast that, and then also to make sure that everyone gets where they need to be when they need to be there, such as the introducers, the panelists, the speakers, that kind of thing.
Well, I think that for people who are looking in and may not have known about this, it sounds kind of technological. Charitech. Do you have to, in order to be there, do you have to be on email or something like that? I mean, what's...
If you're not on email, I don't know how you live, but that's besides the point. You know, it's not that it's not meant to be anything like that. It's more a matter that high tech has always kind of thought beyond the envelope, something new and different. Applied Materials, and there are other high-tech sponsors as well, like AMD and IBM. But this is an idea that is unusual. There's really no other event like this that I know of in the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Charitech, in fact, has won a national award from the National Council of Better Business Bureaus because of its uniqueness and because it was an innovative partnership involving businesses and nonprofits.
Yeah. Well, now you got United Ways all over the country,
Correct.
but you're the only one of all of those organizations that's working with an event like this.
Correct. Or at least all that we know of.
Yeah.
So it's been really unique on behalf of us and looking at the nonprofit organizations that we partner and affiliate with, along with the other nonprofits in the Austin area, because coming from a nonprofit background, there's a lot of almost floundering that goes on as to where you can go to get financial support, in-kind support, volunteers, and there are so many corporations in the Austin area and so many high-tech firms that it's almost impossible to keep up with them growing on a daily basis. So this is the perfect avenue for everyone to get together on one given day and learn about each other. Something may not happen that particular day, but several months down the road, you may end up with volunteers, or you may get a call from a corporation or a high-tech company offering something, or that gives the nonprofit an idea of where they can go and begin to ask for any kind of assistance that they may need.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I was just looking at some of the events, and by the way, this is open to the public.
This is free of charge, and it's open to the public. Anybody who has an interest in making Austin a better place to live, or I should say Central Texas, really, because we have representation from all around the multiple county area.
Okay, it goes from 8:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
People can come in at any time.
They can come and go for any part of it. It's really a series of events and a series of opportunities depending on what your interests are.
Yeah.
And so it's just really a matter of coming to all of it or a part of it. It's great.
Well, you know, one of the things that I want to point out here is we've got the exact time and all up on the monitor for people to take note of. And also in the course of the day, you have, looks like workshops of various sorts that people can come to, like I was noticing this one, the New Austin, What Techno Yuppies Think About Community, Charity, and the Future.
Yes.
Techno Yuppies?
Techno Yuppies. Well, this is where the tech part comes in, I guess. Not everybody goes to the standard nonprofit events that raise money for nonprofits.
Okay.
I go to chicken dinners. I go to casino nights. My company buys a table at an event. But there is a growing number of companies and a growing population within Austin, which I kind of tongue-in-cheek call the Arboretum crowd. They're tech savvy. They're younger, probably in their late 20s to early to mid 30s. They're not plugged into the downtown community. They're relatively new to the community, but they have a lot of spending money. They work for software companies or web-based companies or companies like that. They have some money to spend. They'd love to give something to the community, but the things that are happening in the community don't really appeal to them. This panel is going to be some representatives of that community who are going to kind of talk about things that nonprofits can do to appeal, to get them to come to events. Perhaps some kind of innovative event is needed. The other thing is that it's an opportunity for business people at Charitech to see if they might find a way to link with a charity to also connect with them, because these are obviously consumers with a lot of spending cash.
Well, I've wondered, you know, as time goes along, whether there's in the changing demographics in the business world, whether there's the same kind of commitment to charity than there may have been in an earlier time.
I think there's more so, and I think that's a proven fact in our Central Texas area, where last year the United Way of the capital area had the largest, a 25% increase in our community in giving. The goal was $8 million, and we raised $10.1 million.
Oh, my
and
word.
so
Yeah.
with that, it was such a dramatic increase that we have run national recognition because of that. So, and if you look at Austin as per capita to the size of some other cities, I think we have a long ways to go. And this year, the campaign goal is $11.1 million. So I think if we can continue on that journey, we're going to be highly successful. The more money that is raised and the more money that is given to the community fund, the more money that goes out to the nonprofit organizations who are partner agencies. So you truly are giving back and investing in our local community.
Well, I think Austin is unique in a lot of ways. And as it's becoming more and more of a high-tech center, that the connection with the charities in this regard is a creative edge for these companies.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure they look at it as it's not just doing good, but it's to their benefit as well.
In many ways, it can be an employee benefit. If a company is perceived as being a good corporate citizen, that helps with employee retention. It helps with employee morale. It's a good way for a company to operate.
And before the show, you were telling me that the nonprofits that are there, and by the way, if they haven't signed up to showcase their work, they can still do that.
They can still come. There are 200 booths with nonprofits in them. Those nonprofits that do not have booths yet can still bring material. There'll be some open tables for people to put some material there, even stand by the table and talk. You can have your own mini booth.
Mm-hmm. And you were also indicating that some nonprofits may have some services to render within the corporate community.
Yeah.
Give some examples of that.
Well, we're going to have a panel that's going to talk about how nonprofits can give back to their sponsors. We're going to have a couple of speakers on that panel. For example, there's one agency or a representative from an agency that deals with the elderly. And they give instruction to company employees on how to deal with those employees' parents as they grow older and have to have their kids meet certain needs, whatever they may be. That's a big issue to the so-called sandwich generation that I'm part of and other people are part of.
Right.
That's a way to provide guidance in the workplace. It then gives the employees something. The company is grateful that this nonprofit is doing that. That's now a partnership which can guarantee funding and support for that nonprofit down the road.
Okay. There's also, I see, a parallel to what your work is, Joyce, because the United Way is a consortium of nonprofits.
Correct.
This is a showcase of nonprofits.
Right.
How many nonprofits are under the umbrella of the United Way?
There are 48 partner agencies under the umbrella of United Way Capital Area.
Okay. So that would be maybe, most of them would be at Charitech.
Yes.
It comprise up to maybe 25% of your total number that are
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
at the convention center that day. Now, when we get into the second half of the show, I would like to have us be prepared to talk about the connection to the religious community and the fact that a number of these nonprofits, both that are going to be there on the 15th and those that you work with year-round, are connected to faith-based communities. And so we'll think about how that plays into it, as well as those that are not. But being on Austin Metropolitan Ministries, this connection that we have with this program, I think it's good to think in terms of consortiums, because that's what AMM is.
Right.
And you were in California before you came, and you did this kind of thing there.
Yes. Did it there for a couple of years before we started it in Austin.
Okay. So we'll have a little bit of a history of how you come to this and what brings you to your work.
Okay.
But guess what? We're going to have to catch our breath here while we take a break. Let the folks at home just take a break as well, and we'll be back in just a minute with our second half of this edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Stay tuned. Back to Austin Faith Dialogue, where today we're turning our attention to Charitech. It's a community-wide event that is involving the nonprofits across the metropolitan area. It's being sponsored by a number of of the corporations in the city, and we're pleased to have the co-chair of that event, Stephen C. Taylor of Applied Materials, and Joyce Horn of the United Way Capital Area. We've been talking for the first 15 minutes about, how it started and what's going to be happening there, but I'd like to, in this half, begin to zero in more clearly on how this is related to the faith community. I know the United Way has for years had contacts with agencies that you support and help with church or
Correct.
synagogue. What?
Correct. United Way Capital Area focuses primarily at the present time on health and human service organizations. However, all of those organizations typically have a tie-in to the faith-based communities as sponsors, people on their board of directors, people who are on advisory committees, staff members, volunteers, and so we really try to zero in particularly on the faith-based communities as a way that we can recruit volunteers to go to the nonprofit organizations.
Mm-hmm. Give us some examples of some of those faith-based communities.
We get lots and lots of calls at the volunteer center from the different faith-based communities in regards to wanting to volunteer, groups of people wanting to volunteer, singles groups, young youth groups, things like that. So we really try to make those connections to get out into the community so that they're well aware of what is in the Austin community and what the other health and human service organizations
I mean, Salvation Army would be an example of that, right?
That'd be a perfect
Absolutely.
example.
Uh-huh.
There are many. The Capital Area Food Bank receives lots of the group activities because they have such a wide range of volunteer opportunities that can offer to a wide range of people. A lot of the other organizations, because of the areas of confidentiality and things that they have to really be careful of, sometimes it's difficult for them to deal with the younger populations. So we typically try to get to more of the singles groups and things like that.
Right.
It's also through a lot of the faith-based communities that we get a lot of families who are very much interested in wanting to volunteer. So by calling the volunteer center and acting as a clearinghouse, so to speak, we maintain a database of 252 nonprofit organizations. We're able to make those connections between the faith-based communities and the nonprofit organizations in our community.
By the way, Joyce, you know what I'm doing right now?
What are you doing?
I'm doing penance.
Right here at this show.
Right on this show, for about 10 and a half years, we've done Austin Faith Dialogue, and we've never had the United Way on, see? So this is our chance to make up for all of that.
Okay.
I'm new too, so don't feel bad.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now, talk about, when somebody's going to go to this Charitech event on September the 15th
Yes.
at the Convention Center, and they're going to go from booth to booth, and they're going to find a number of these that have got some religious connection.
Absolutely.
Can you name a few?
I'm not sure I can name a few because there are so many. There are going to be about 200 booths with those groups in it. We have a good variety every year. Our goal, we actually get more applications than we have booths every year.
I see.
But the committee of sponsors, we don't have any real rules and regulations as to how many should be in and how many should be out. But I do tell the committee I want a diverse representation of the community, big, little, different religious backgrounds, different religious affiliations, different parts of the community, different causes, everything from arts groups to health and human services. So we always get a good variety. And as I indicated earlier too, it's even if you don't get a booth, if a faith-based organization can bring some material and talk to people there.
I think the Catholic Charities is some aspect or another of the Catholic work in the community would be represented there.
I'm sure they are, and like you indicated with Salvation, frankly, it's interesting for me because I'm from California, and it's not the religious framework, let's say, of the community is not quite as pronounced as it is in Austin. But you can't do anything in this town without touching, thankfully, on a faith-based operation. So it's good to have that there at Charitech.
Well, I think that it's probably no accident that this suddenly emerges in the evolution of the cosmos in Austin, Texas. I mean, and if you're a Presbyterian, you say it was all providential sort of thing. But I mean, the fact that you're here, how did you get into this kind of work anyway, Steve?
My history is somewhat checkered. I used to be a newspaper reporter and editor in California before I went. I told everybody I had to get an adult job, so then I went to work for a big corporation as a doing employee communications. But I came to Austin there was a chance to come here, and I think Austin's a wonderful town. It's a great move for me and my family. Mm-hmm. And we belong to St. Louis Catholic Church, as a matter of fact, downtown.
Okay. Now the Applied Materials that you work for, you're doing this kind of work for them in a way to connect to the nonprofits in town?
Yeah, our company encourages me and other people who work with me to think of innovative ways to help in the community beyond the norm. This is one of our most innovative ideas, and it has really succeeded in Austin, not so much because of Applied Materials, but because the community sees it as a great opportunity and they've embraced it. A lot of it now is just pointing people to go that way. It isn't a matter of getting the herd together. The herd's there. So.
Is it kind of like trying to herd cats sometimes?
Well, initially when we started the show 5 years ago, it was hard to, you could explain it. Everybody understood it conceptually until they saw it, until they showed up and kicked the tires, as it were. I'm not sure anybody really understood it fully. After that, though, it has steadily grown. The first show probably had about 25 sponsors. We had 850 people show up. Now we've got 62 sponsors. We had 2,300 people last year. We'll probably have in excess of 2,500 this year.
Wow.
It's just steadily grown. People are learning more, and I think people understand also, it's not just a nonprofit showcase or learning about volunteer opportunities. It's a wide variety of things going on there. Pretty much you come here with your own agenda, and everybody's there to work with you and to talk with you and to meet with you about what's on your mind.
Okay, well, you're going to be there helping out.
I will be there helping out. Definitely. I'll be coordinating the volunteers that are there for the day. We recruit between 50 and 75 volunteers, and this year we're actually looking for more because Charitech has expanded this year beyond what it has in past years. In the past, Charitech ended after the end of the keynote speaker, and the nonprofit organizations would then go home. This year, with the innovation and the collaboration of other corporations in our community, we have Charijam. So that is going to be a battle of the corporate bands, and that takes place from 3:30 until 6. So we'll need volunteers to assist in that component of our event as well.
Did my ears pick that up correctly? Charijam?
Charijam, yes. There are corporate bands from AMD, Applied Materials, IBM, Dell, and I know I'm missing some Motorola.
They got bands at these companies?
This is an innovative way that companies can give back to the community, which we're going to showcase. The bigger companies have musical bands. There's the Deltones from Dell.
Oh, my word.
The AMD band is called the Propeller Heads. They
LCRA,
actually...
the River Rats?
Yeah, I've forgotten what they
River
are.
something.
They've all got funny names. IBM's band has their own website. Anyway, the point is that this band can then go, say, to play at a nonprofit event as a donation from the company.
Oh,
It cuts a
really?
cost out of their nonprofit event.
Huh.
Or they play at adopt-a-schools, or they do other things as a representative of the company to the community. It's another way that a company can give, and not everybody knows that can be done.
Isn't it good that we're telling folks about this? I mean, you could just
sure.
You just get all these phone calls to say, come play at our event.
Charijam is free, too, so if you want to come down and see what these bands sound like for your event, here's your chance to kind of try them all out at one place.
Yeah.
And the winning band, by the way, gets to give a computer to the adopt-a-school of their choice.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the keynote speaker.
The keynote speaker is going to be Joe Piscopo, who is probably most recognized as one of the stars of Saturday Night Live during the 1980s. He was known for an excellent impression of Frank Sinatra. In fact, it was the only impression that Frank Sinatra actually liked of Frank Sinatra.
Really?
Yeah, he's going to be here. He is coming as a representative of America's Promise, which is General Colin Powell's organization,
Volunteer,
which stemmed from the President's Summit back in 1996.
Right.
The Charitech this year is, in certain ways, going to spotlight the Austin Promise event that's coming on the following Saturday, which is being led by Mayor Kirk Watson.
Okay, let's talk about that quickly because we're not going to have a show on that. And this is a way of doing penance ahead of time.
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
The Austin Promise is the local response to the Texas Challenge, which occurred last September in San Antonio, and General Colin Powell was here for that event, and then to the President's Summit. And this is a way of pulling together the youth in our community and adults to find out how we can give back to our youth and how the youth can give back to our community.
Okay, now this is going to happen the same week as Charitech.
Exactly. It's going to happen on Saturday, September the 19th, from noon till 6 p.m. at the Frank Irwin Center.
Okay. Well, now, we don't have anything to bring up on the monitor for that, but at least we can announce it.
There will be advertisements. In fact, if you see a Charitech ad, we are giving them ad space in our ads for that event.
Okay,
You can find some
good.
information there.
Let's pull up this information again that we showed in the first half in case anybody missed it. It's on Tuesday the 15th, beginning at 8:30 in the morning and going till 6. And you know, one of the things that I have to tell you that I went to this last year, and as I visited different booths, I suddenly realized these would make great programs on Austin Faith Dialogue. And over the last year, we've had at least a half dozen that came out of those contacts.
That's great.
And I was impressed. I mean, there was one group we had was Morning Glory, which was working with children with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have ever come across that except for there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to soon have one on a recovery program that had to do with addiction.
Oh, good.
And I think that I saw a heavy emphasis on youth that seemed, and also we had what was once called the Center for Battered Women, which has changed its name since.
Mm-hmm. Safe place.
Safe Place.
Mm-hmm.
And what a wide range of resources, and we hear about it here and there, but we don't hear about it all at once.
Yeah.
Which Charitech can help us do.
I think that's one thing that's really unique, and I've been involved with Charitech. This is my second year in the position that I'm at the Volunteer Center, and previously with a nonprofit for 3 years prior to that. And I think what I can honestly say out of this is, as it does continue to grow, the nonprofit organizations, just because you attend one year does not automatically mean that you're going to get to attend the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the increase in sponsors this year, we have some people who are attending this year who've not ever had the opportunity to attend, who may have applied. And as Steve was saying, we get so many more applicants and registrations than what we have space for, that it's a very difficult decision to determine who does and does not get in. So because we have such a wide-based advisory committee to make those choices, and it is very fair and very unique, that it does create the opportunity for different organizations to come each
Well,
year.
I tell you, I looked at your advisory committee, and it went into the dozens, it looks like. So you're going to get a lot of advice. And I hope you get a lot of feedback from folks who watch this and people who will come and be part of it as a result. But I want to thank you, Steve. You're doing a great job. Steve Taylor.
Well, I have a lot of help with, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
And I want to say to you, Joyce Horn, blessings on you.
Thank you very much.
And I hope we've done penance as far as the United Way, the capital area,
Great.
and
Thank
highlighting
you.
your work. And glad to have you folks with us today, and hope that you'll be with us next week. I'm Richard Thompson on behalf of Austin Metropolitan Ministries, bidding you peace.